Hi, everyone. I'm Henritta. Good morning. Very excited to see all of you here. On behalf of Boliden's IT and mine automation program, I wish you all a very warm welcome to Tech Talk Conference 2026. It is our 5th conference so far, actually. So, our hosts for today are Markus Frank and Rasmus Tammia. And joining us all the way from New York, we've got our graphic illustrator, Tracy Berlund, she'll be doing a live graphic recording for our few speakers. So welcome, Tracy. Yeah, there. All right, so let's start the conference. Thank you.
Hallå?
Hej, vad gör du?
Nej, ingenting. Du då?
Har jag avslutat en WoW-raid med min favorit Paladin Birri. Han börjar få kläm på sin devotion aura.
Okej.
Men du, så här. Jag tänkte imorgon, då har jag fixat bord på vår favoritrestaurang. Sen är det en ganska schysst konsert nere vid älven som jag tänkte att vi ska sammanstråla kring. Och så tänkte jag i samband med det så kan du även få träffa gänget och lite grann lära känna.
Ja, men du, stopp. Det här känns ju helt galet.
Tänker du Birger? Ja, nej, men hans devotion aura, han har inte riktigt fått kläm på.
Vet du, jag känner att... Jag tror vi måste avbryta det här. Kemin finns inte alls och jag tror att det blir bäst så. Så att, ja, det är så jag känner. Nej, men det känns så bra att det är över nu.
Hej.
Hej.
So connections, that was definitely a big part of my life being a former youth hockey player. Starting off from the age of 6 until I was 14, I spent tremendous amount of time out on the ice. And I remember that taught me quite a bit about what it meant to be a team player. Young hockey players helping out each other, whether that was during offense, defense, power play, or maybe reminding ourselves to stay focused even though the latest episode of Pokemon had just dropped. But still, I did not pursue a professional hockey career. A lot of us claimed that we wanted to become NHL players. That did not happen. To some, it actually did. But still, I had other dreams, perhaps. But then, 23 years later, something beautiful happened. One of my coworkers, Dennis Forslund, reached out to me and said, hey, look, you're a former hockey player. Why don't you come join us this Friday afternoon on a session? So yeah, sure, why not? I did. So I showed up roughly with that gear, and I got so scared. The reason being that all of the other players, who were also former hockey players, had full equipment. So that was probably the most dramatic hour of my life, to my knowledge. But it was so much fun. So the day after, I went and bought full equipment that I was missing. And here, 23 years later, that's me. I took this picture. I had to send it to my mom, just showing how happy I was. This is from our in-office event. Thank you, Daniel Löfgren, for organizing these. They are great. But I was so shocked I could have not foreseen that I would 23 years later be out on the ice with full equipment once again. But it was probably one of the most best things that had happened, at least in 6 months. The reason I'm standing here today is because I did not pursue my dream of becoming a hockey player. Instead, I went down the academic line. So back in school, during high school, I loved maths quite a bit. And we have a lot of engineers here today, so I think a lot of you know that the thing about mathematics that we tend to love is that it involves problem solving. There's something really great about giving this problem handed to you and you get to think about it for a while, then come to a final conclusion or a solution. And it also often provides instant feedback. But, and then I came across this radio program on Sveriges Radio. Here in Sweden, we have this thing called Sommaren P1, where they invite famous or highly influential people to talk about whatever they want. And this specific program by Julia Ravan has definitely caught my attention. She's an engineer, she has a PhD in mathematics, and she has authored several books. I highly suggest that you check those out. But what she talked about was that in a very chaotic world, and we all know that is currently the situation, maths has always had this nice ability to present itself almost like an undisputable fact. And it's also been this solid foundation for all of the major technical breakthroughs that we have seen throughout history. But during school, and the way also we conduct work here at the technology department, we have been taught to kind of work in a certain fast fashion. We often start off by forming a hypothesis. We then conduct experiments in one shape or form. And then we draw some conclusions from that. And this has enabled us as, dare I say, species, almost understand economies, discover new medicine, or take us as far as to the moon. But then one could also argue that maybe we have reached some limitations to these conventional methods. One scientist or great engineer might spend an entire career for that one single eureka moment. But then came AI and AI agents, and they could potentially become our personal research assistants. I think a really great example of that can be found from the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2024. Google DeepMind developed a model called AlphaFold, and they managed to solve the 50-year-old problem within biology, which was about trying to predict the unique 3D structure, a protein's unique 3D structure from its amino acid sequence. I'm by no means a biologist, but it's essential to understand life, more or less. And so they were actually able to do that, and they uploaded the results to a database, and since then they have been downloaded by several scientists and researchers from all around the world, cutting down research time significantly. I think this is a really, really good example of how we can really benefit from this technology for us as a species. I'm also absolutely certain that in the future, we often hear managers and other people talk about cross-collaboration. is definitely part of all of the strategic documents that can be thrown around in a company. But it also has become apparent to me that this new era definitely will help us reach that. You can now, with these modern technologies, design your own kind of hybrid experts. And why is that important? Well, I was very, very fortunate enough. I mean, I'm a huge nerd. And so when NASA reached out to me and say, hey, look, why don't you come to Silicon Valley, to our Ames Research Center, and discuss AI and mining, I was like, okay, I don't know what this is about, but let's do it. And apparently space engineering and mining share a lot of common ground. They wanted to understand more how we work with that within our field and vice versa. This was probably one of the greatest trips I've done in quite a while, and imagine being a kid during high school who loved maths and getting to spend a week with all of these talented researchers definitely is a lasting memory for sure. But I think also as we're heading into the future, it's also really, really important that we understand our history. One thing that has been very well studied by numerous experts is when we transition from going from hunter-gathering to becoming farmers. That was a major milestone to us. I mean, that enabled us to start farming, and cities started to pop up, and our population grew. But we also tend to forget that it definitely came with a high cost. By no means, I mean, hunter-gathering requires, I mean, that is not an easy life. But so, I mean, farming is not as well. That is very, very labor-intensive. And also, due to the fact that we started building cities, diseases started to spread. And also, our diet became much more narrow. That's something that has been concluded when studying skeletons from this era. And also, on a very individual level, I mean, this was kind of an act for the benefit of the greater good. So even though we thrived as a population, it was still very labor-heavy and did not perhaps entail as much freedom as we thought back then. And we can see some parallels to that happen in recent day and age. I mean, when we started using the internet, when we started using email, we thought, hey, this is probably going to free up so much time. And we all know that's not true. I mean, we spend our entire mornings and days going through our inbox, feeling stressed that we don't have enough time answering on all of our mails. And maybe we will see something similar happen when it comes to utilizing these AI agents to some extent. My LinkedIn is definitely full of lunatics claiming that they're becoming so productive that they barely sleep. So I think it's important going into the future that we have to remember that we are, in fact, humans during this revolution that is currently happening. But going back to my hockey career, I mean, like I said, I am still shocked at how fun this is. I thought that I had left playing hockey long gone. Yeah, sure, I watch NHL games, I follow the local hockey team here, but I never imagined this would kind of rekindle my passion. And the reason I'm talking about my rekindled passion in hockey is because a lot of the technology development currently happening at Boliden also addresses a lot of the same problems that were present roughly, let's say, 25 years ago. But today we have these modern tools, we have new expertise within the company that enables us to handle these questions. During the 90s, it was not so easy to extract data and information. Sure, we understood control theory, those model-based controllers, but now we can utilize these modern AI data science tools that rely on transformer architecture, that can look at a wider time span, if you will. We have new software engineering technologies that enables us to extract data, process data, and also execute algorithms in a much easier way than before. And that's the whole point here. Just because we're in the future doesn't mean that we should stop addressing the same problems that we did before. So with that, going into the future, I think it's really important that the reason we're gathered here today is to understand and share ideas between one another. And also, it's our responsibility to conduct research and to understand it better, but also to apply on the problems that were not solved during the past. Because evaluating connections from the past is definitely worth checking out. So with that, welcome to Tech Talk.